Hey, welcome to part 14. This part's gonna be a lot of fun, as we're gonna be starting to work on the textures. I think this has a weird curve though there. Let's just kinda move that back in. Again, balancing from the side and the front view. What we're constantly doing is important. You wanna hide the roots underneath other cards. And to make LODs for a thing like this is gonna be a living hell. So I'm probably not gonna be doing LODs. Because this has just to look pretty and to teach you how to make hair. Maybe if enough people want to see how to do the LODs, I'll make a video, but I don't think too many people actually care about learning how to do that. Because nobody likes to make LODs. Not sure how that's gonna look. I think we're adding too much base card there now. I want to get some of that empty space back. One way to blend them is just to make it thinner here at the beginning. I do want it to hide this part here though. We got that stuff going on there. Maybe like this. I think this is a little bit weird. I think it works. Let's also go ahead and just try to design some albedo colors, just to kind of get a quick look how that's gonna be. Let's open Photoshop, and this is our alpha, our albedo for now. Let's go ahead and use that one. Which hair do I like more? I think this one looks quite nice here though. I think this one looks a little bit better. Maybe we can up the specular a little bit. Specular. Go ahead and call this one hair. Let's duplicate it. Textured. For this one, let's make it white. So let's go ahead and edit that. I feel like it shouldn't be that bright, actually. It's pretty bright. I think if we edit the tint here, it's gonna be better. And the root tint also down. Then I wanna keep this one bright. See if that changes anything. Usually I don't like to edit the color in here. I like to edit it on Photoshop. But let's give this a try. Yeah, I think it's the same. Let's just do it in Photoshop. So let's get this and let's save it as a new one. Save as and do albedo edit. Let's save this as a PSD. Now let's get rid of this. Now we want to place a linked and fiber alpha. Now anytime we make changes to the texture, it will update those changes on the lay, and if it doesn't update, you can do update all modified content. So first things first, it's super saturated. So let's start off with that. Saturation. I'm just gonna... that's not handy because we have it linked here. I'm gonna save this as fiber, albedo, edit. And let's link a new texture. And I don't want to do that every time. Make a new set. And stuff. Let's call this save albedo. And over here we're just gonna make a save. And that's all. Let's take a look. I think that's starting to look better. I do think we still have too much saturation though. So now all that we have to do is hit save albedo. Now you can see we can edit the hair really fast. Let's get rid of the AO for now. let's do a new camera. The camera is messing up the color. So main camera, let's make a duplicate. Let's call this camera neutral. Now over here, let's just, actually it's easy to just make a new one. A new camera neutral. This is gonna give us a better representation of our actual texture. I think it's a bit lackluster. You can use like more dark depth colors, if that makes sense. Maybe up the saturation. You just kind of have to go back and forward until you get something that you like. So we have too much color in there still. Let's also get rid of the specular tint. Yeah, that's messing things up. And getting the right color is a little bit difficult. You just have to do a lot of back and forward. I think we can use like some green tints in here. Let's call this green tints. Put that color and just get some green in there. Yeah, I think that looks a lot more natural now with the green. Maybe we can push it to like 10. I think that's still good. Losing a bit too much color. I think like that is pretty nice. See what kind of happens if we play with the color of the specular. Keep that white, because we cannot really mess with it in Unreal. Now let's give the roots like a different color. So now we can take all this, just group it and call this base CC for color correction. You can see we changed quite a lot. So I think the color looks pretty good now. Let's do the light and tips here. So let's make get the textures. Let's get a root texture. Now let's make a new folder. Let's call this folder tips. So now we just take this texture and let's make a mask and just put it in there. Let's put this one here, and we're gonna need to update this mask as we like add more cards. We can just like up the brightness. Let's also do a saturation. Let's make this more saturated maybe. Maybe we can use some yellow tones. Let's just copy this and make it yellow. So let's give that a try. You can see it's a lot lighter now on the ends. It's not exactly what I want though. So let's get rid of that mask for now. Let's hide all this. And I want to have a little bit more contrast to this. So what we can do is let's delete that and place it linked. Fiber root. Let's make it a little bit shorter. So maybe like that. Now we can make a new action at the hair stuff. Let's do a root mask. Here we just select the root, levels 2. Duplicate by hitting Ctrl G. Merge. Ctrl A, Ctrl C, Ctrl D. Ctrl D. Now let's go to this channel, just Ctrl V. And that's all. So now if everything worked, we can now edit these levels. Oh, hold on, we messed up a little bit. Should have deleted something. Just gonna go back a little bit. So yeah, over here. Let's open up our action and just select all this and hit this. Let's delete this. So let's give this a proper name. Root levels. Now hit the record. Duplicate it. Merge. Ctrl A, Ctrl C. Now let's paste it. Now I just want to select these and delete them. Move this one in front here. Now it should update fine once we hit this. So let's make that a bit shorter. And you can see the old mask, and now if we hit root mask, you can see it's the same. So that all worked fine. Now we can just click that later. So let's take a look how that looks, and let's use the save albedo. And to save out your stuff, like your actions, just go here and do save actions. Head tutorial, let's call them actions. And now if you accidentally delete your set, you can just go here and you can go load actions, and then you can just select them. And that way you can always get them back here. That's gonna have all of the stuff that we did in this folder. I think it's a little bit too short. Let's try something like that. You can see it update. I think we can still push it. And we gotta ignore this part because that's gonna have the other texture later. Let's make it a little bit longer. Maybe a bit longer again. I think like this. Yeah, I think I like it like this. I think the effect is a little bit too strong though. So let's just tone this down a bit. Could be a bit stronger now. I think something like that is nice. Now let's turn this off. Let's actually go ahead and go to Maya. And we're gonna do a new action here. Let's open up the script editor. I just like to clear everything out to have a little bit more clean. So we're gonna select main. Let's do export selection. I'm gonna export it here. I'm gonna call it main. Make sure it has these settings. Then select the tail. Let's call this hair tail. And deselect. So now let's just go here. Let's call this one export to. And this one's just gonna separate the tail from the main part. So now mama set, we can hide the hair. We can do an import. Import these two, and the rotation is wrong. The rotation is a bit weird because I used the meta-humans, and they use a different up axis. So let's see. Should be minus 90. Yeah. So here textured. And let's make a duplicate. Add textured tips. Actually, we can use the same material. No, we do need to make a duplicate. Add textured tips. Just drag that to here. Now Photoshop. We can duplicate this action. Let's call this save albedo tips. And we don't need this one. Now just double click. Fiber albedo tips. Edit. And if you double click, you can just change the current action, so we can change the name. Now mom set, let's get this material, albedo. Let's choose the tips. So now we can clearly see how it's gonna look like in the end. And I think we can use a more reddish color. But I do like how it looks from the end. But I think we can push some redness into it. Just duplicate again, call this red tints. Put that like 5. Yeah, I think that looks a little bit better, more like the reference. I think it's too strong though, the effect, a little bit. Let's push this down to like 3. Let's push this down to 70. And make sure to select the right one. So that's a little bit more subtle. And I do want to get a little bit of that depth in here. Not all the way, because it shouldn't be, because that's like where the hair ends, right? But I feel like we can make it look like there's a bit more depth. I'm just gonna be really subtle about that. We can get the root. Let's duplicate it. Let's put all the way on the top. Now we can put it on multiply. Put that like 25. That's just gonna darken all the roots a little bit. Do wanna brighten everything up a little bit now. So you can see how it's just gonna create a little bit of depth in the textures. Go ahead and save that for both. Oh, and we should disable the tips for the normal albedo. Let's change the material itself a little bit. It can be a little bit more rough. And we need a little bit more depth. Let's get the occlusion back. Maybe 0.2. Put this at like 0.6 maybe. Let's tone this down a bit. I'm just looking for something that looks nice and shiny but natural. Delete that one so we can duplicate it and change the texture again. You can see how much the directional map helps at this point. Now we get really bad reflections here, but with the reflections here, with the direction, it's gonna be a lot better. See the difference? Maybe a little bit more specular. Let's try to put some color in there. So I think something like this looks pretty nice. You can see how much better it looks than what we had before. But we're using the different camera. This is before. Let me just make a screenshot. And now, I think right now it's looking a lot more natural, the hair, which is nice. Let's duplicate this one. Let's get our tips in. Do feel like the effect is still too strong. Like taking a lot of attention and putting it to here. I think maybe it could be nice if we added to the baby hairs as well. So it will be a little bit more outlined, the effect. And it would make sense to put it on the baby hairs as well. But that will be stuff for later. For now, let's just put this at like 50. Yeah, I think that's a little bit less distracting. work with this for now. While I'm working, I'm just gonna use the same text here and just kind of check it sometimes, because I do feel like it's a bit distracting to constantly look at. But I do like how it looks. I think it adds a little bit more detail. Actually, let's just keep like this. It's looking nice and looks really well from the back, the different colors. Let's see if we can do anything else that's gonna be nice with the textures. I think that's about it. Here we can take this. Just see what happens if we kind of mess with the blending modes. Actually, let's make this like black and white first. I think it's gonna be weird if we mess with it. Maybe we can use the depth. Like make certain strands a little bit more bright. Guess you can see now that we have everything pretty dark, but now it's just gonna take some hairs and brighten them up. I think it can be pretty cool. See how that looks. Tips and the one without tips. Yeah, I think that looks pretty nice. It's almost like we're faking some highlight reflections. But I think it's a little bit too strong, the effect. Let's put this to like 5. Maybe 6. We need to keep the one on. Like that. And once we start working in Unreal again, instead of like doing it like this in Photoshop, we're gonna export the texture with the tips, like fully shown and one without. And then we can do a lerp from this mask. We can edit in real time, like how strong this effect will be, which will be nice. But in Marmoset we cannot do that. So we gotta do it like this by hand. We have some problems here actually that we should fix later on. Some intersections. But I think you can tell that now that we did some work on textures as well, that the hair's starting to look pretty nice. We're getting at a good point. I would say we're pretty much like done with the base, and now we're gonna need to put details like these little clumps here to fill up that, and add some clumps to some clumps that we already have, some spikes and some noise. But we're getting to a point where we're gonna be done sometime finally. So let's try messing a bit with the material color. Maybe a little bit darker. Let's change up the background. just so we're not looking at the same thing the whole time. Go with something like this. And I think it's already starting to look like a pretty solid piece. Let's also go ahead and just quickly model like a hairband, just to kind of make it look more polished. Let's do a torus. Hit the T key. That's gonna bring up the settings. Not sure what happened there. A bit more inflated, like that. I'm not sure why it's stuck on showing the wireframe actually. I think I pressed something wrong, but it's okay. Doesn't really matter. And duplicate it. Something like this. Maybe 0.17. Let's export this. Call this bends, and just delete it. I'm gonna go with a blue because it goes nice with the brown color. And I want to push the levels down a bit more actually. And I do like to make screenshots from time to time so I can kind of check out the progress we're making. Let's take another reference board as well. Actually, this should all be a little bit darker. Just take levels and decrease the brightness. I think I liked it more actually when it was a little bit more bright. No, it doesn't match the reference, but we don't need to make the reference exactly. Let's keep like this. Let's also add some camera effects. So camera neutral. And most of the times I like to throw the contrast up a little bit. Let's add some vignette. Actually, I like the low exposure look. Like this. So as you can see, we're making some good progress. All the way at the beginning. You can see how bad that ponytail is looking. Now that I look at it from here, I think we gotta bring some more variation in the lengths here though. It's looking a lot better than what we had earlier. I think the hair's coming in pretty well in general. So one thing I noticed when doing all this stuff, I think the base cards work pretty well, but all the tips of the base cards, they're way too strong. Like they should be way thinner. So let's go to Maya. Go ahead and hide everything. Except for the base ones. Get rid of the main. Hair sheet. And because we're using the same base cards as before, I cannot just edit the texture. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna get this texture, design, and base. Let's duplicate. Unlock that. Let's move it all the way over here. We're gonna design a base card just to use for the tails. And as you can see, all the tail base cards, they're pretty thin. Let's go ahead and thin this whole thing out. I'm using skeleton, I think. So like something like this. So I'm just trying to like create a little bit of open space. We have a little bit now. Enable the other one. Something like this. Now thickness, let's make the tip pretty thin. Same for this one, thickness, thin tips. and export. We're gonna need to do the alpha stretch thingy again. I lost the action. So let's make one in the hair stuff. Alpha stretch. Actually, I forgot to save it. So just let it go again. Let's see if everything works fine. So that's all good. So now we're just gonna take one. Let's take like a nice one. This one. No, actually, let's go with this one here. Making it safe. And I'm not sure what's happening. Invisible. Hold on. I think we export as PNG. Yep. So that's annoying. All our linked stuff is in PNG format in Photoshop. Now it should have the texture. You can see that the tips are like more subtle now. So let's just select the other ones. I hate this, that it doesn't work. That we gotta do it one by one. Come on, work with more. Yep, now it's working with more. I don't know why. Just kind of transfer it all until it works. You just gotta do few by few. Seems to be working fine that way. To check, just select all cursor and go into UV. You can see we still have some that's wrong. Those are all fine. Some of these are wrong. So that one. We still have one wrong. No. Now we all have to do this. And you can see how we basically modeled this whole thing with like a temporary texture, and we can switch it out later without a lot of work. And something went completely wrong there. It's using the wrong alpha. Let's see. It does have the new one. Not sure what happened. I think it might just be the color. Hold on. Yeah, of course we're using the color map and the color is messed up, I think, here. As you remember, we're using these things as PNGs. Let's just reconstruct a little bit. So it has the, we actually put the JPEG, which is nice. So that's all good. That's good. The tips, we gotta fix that. That all seems to be working. We can shift click to open that one. So it's the JPEG, that's fine. The depth is not doing anything. So it's a JPEG though, so it should work. Ah, we didn't place it linked. Place linked. It's annoying. Let's take all this. Search for PNG. Just get rid of all these. These are all PNG files. Back a little bit in history, I don't remember the thing that we put it on. That is all for now. Also, let's make sure we don't need to hide everything and do the exports all the time. Can make a new action called this export albedo. Here we're just gonna take save albedo tips. First let's make sure if it's disabled it will show it. Then we do the save albedo tips. That's just gonna make an action of the action. We can go here, disable tips, and do a save albedo. Then we can show the tips again. So now we can just press this and we don't need to go through all that stuff. Maybe it's just the texture difference here that's making it look so different. It's like completely messing it up what we had. I'm just gonna go back a little bit. I should have made a save before doing this actually. But I got my undo history pretty high. So we're back again at where we started. Let's make a save. This time I'm gonna add some information before base switch. Let's export. Now you can see we have everything back. So we had what we had before. This time, let's delete this. This time I'm just gonna use an exact duplicate and see if it will stay the same. Guess it should be. And then if it stays the same, we can edit this stuff. So go into Photoshop, and now the mask is not lining up. Let's go to export albedo. Let's do a play. Just hit root mask. I'm gonna put this all the way on top. So now once we make any changes to the mask or whatever, you just hit this and everything will be fine. Gotta do the alpha stretch. Not sure why it's asking me to open one. So I'm not sure why it's asking me to open, but it's okay, just open and we'll stretch. And now it should be the same. Let's do an export. And everything's staying the same. I think it was this one. Let's just transfer the UVs again. I think I already know why sometimes it doesn't transfer. You gotta select everything except for the curve itself. Yeah, that's it. Just make sure to select everything except for the curve itself, and it should work. Okay. So again, everything should be the same, and everything's the same. Now let's just make it nice and thin. I think we can thin it out a little bit more here to really get that fuzzy feeling. I wish there was like a way to only like update one card when we bake it, because now it takes so much time. Now Photoshop. You can see the text just updating and stuff. Let's also add one more thing to the export. Just click one and update all modified content. That's just gonna make sure that we always have the newest. I guess it was just fine the first time, but it just looks worse when we thin it out. But I think it's still good to thin them out. We just gotta do it a little bit less. Let's try something like this. Nah, I'm not gonna go ahead and make this one thinner because we have enough texture space. I'm not gonna worry about it. I think that's a bit better. I think these cards are the problem. Like they're really thick. Go ahead and check those out. Those are these. Let's see if we're using them a lot. So that's good. We're not using them anywhere on the tail. Let's check out the main part. I think we might have been using them for the baby hairs. I think we're using them quite a lot actually. On the backs here, I think, yeah. I think we're gonna switch out these textures later, so we can have like a thinner hair here. But it will be for later. First we're gonna work a bit more on it. I think we work quite a lot on the ponytail now. So we're gonna go back and do the baby hairs. Like what we were trying to do earlier here. Let's give it another try. So we're gonna restart the baby hairs here. So remember last time we tried it and didn't really look too good. So we're gonna redo that. So this time we're gonna try almost the same way, but just a little different. I think it's gonna work a little bit better. So let's just make a cube. Put the pivot point at the top, so hold down the D key, and then the V to snap it to a vertex. I'm gonna be doing this piece over here. with me. This time, instead of kinda modeling, I'm just gonna pick one. Go with this one. We're not gonna match the UVs yet to save on the alpha overdraw. Just make some UVs really quick. Let's change the pivot where the roots are. This time, instead of trying to edit the topology, we're gonna go in Photoshop. We're just gonna edit the texture. Actually, let's make this a little bit shorter first here. Something like this matches the texture better, I think. And these are gonna be like our base, where we're gonna guide all the hairs to. I think we need a little bit more curvature and they should stick together better here. Just increase the strength here. I'm just trying to get these ends to stick together somehow. I think that's doing it a little bit better already. That one's sticking together pretty well. Now we need one more bend, I think. Or curl. Let's try curl. Let's put out 0. That's not working. Maybe we can edit the clump a little bit. We just need these ends to stick together now. Maybe we can try a second clump. I think that's looking a bit better already. A little bit of a breakup there. I don't like this shape though, where this one has crossing it. I think that's better. Yeah, now they're sticking nicely together. So I'm just kind of messing with all the parameters till we get something that works. Maybe try this. I think we need more curvature now. But we're just gonna go really slowly and go step by step. Because last time we kind of rushed it and we came out with a bad result. Yeah, I think that looks a lot more like the reference. Just make sure that we have everything on there. I think we can use a little bit more curvature. It should be bending here already. So I think we can use a curl. Maybe that doesn't work. Actually, we're getting a little bit more curvature now, which is good. Scale. Let's try adding another bend all the way down. Maybe something like this. Let's put all the strength down. See if we can get this one hair that's sticking out to work better. I'm just gonna copy this value because we cannot undo. Let's get rid of the bend. It's messing up the clumping. Let's try it like this. We don't have too much. We actually have quite a lot of extra curvature. I think that looks pretty nice. I do think maybe we need to make them thinner and more dense, so we can use them for here and have like thicker ones for some detail. Let's call this baby. But first let's do an export to Marmoset and just kinda see how it looks. Make a new group. Let's call this front. See that we're starting to get quite a lot of stuff in here. Let's call these pillars, guides. Yeah, I think that looks pretty nice. It's a little bit small though. Maybe we can scale it a little bit like this. I think we have a little bit too much curvature now. So I just tone down this strength. So I'll set and update the textures here. Yeah, I think that looks nice, what we have now. Oh, we actually had backface turned off. So yeah, that looks a lot better actually. That's because we're doing like the split up hair, right? I think for this one we had it on the whole time. Yeah, for this one we had it on. And I think we can make these a little bit thinner. And then we're gonna add like these thickness ones for some interesting effect. Just the same that we did with the baby hats, that we had some small thick guards. So yeah, that's nice and thin. And I do want to make sure that they work from all angles. Right now, like, it works from this, but from this you can see that we don't see anything. So So I want to make sure that they work from that, otherwise we're gonna have a lot of awkward emptiness from certain angles. So let's go ahead and make a duplicate of this one. So I think we can use the same texture as well, but we do need to edit the topology. This can be a little bit tricky. So at this point that I'm happy with texture, we can also start cutting away some of the excess of the object. And I want to avoid any kinks like this at all. As you can see, that looks horrible. And the easiest way is probably to edit the edge flow a bit. I think for this one's best if we merge it. Just collapse it. Now you can see it's starting to get a little bit better. Let's rotate a bit though, so it's looking more like a plus sign, so it works from more angles, the hair. I think that's starting to look pretty good. Let's take a look at Mom's set. So you can see how the baby hairs now look a bit more three-dimensional. They're working from all angles, which we want. I think we need a little bit more topology though. You can see it's quite faceted. Just gonna take it, hit the 3 key. That's gonna smooth it out, and then we can do page. Now let's keep like this and just convert it. Now we do need to make sure that we go ahead and reduce this. Just take every other one here. See what happens if we delete this one. But we should get rid of it, it's just too much. Just gonna smooth it out again. This time let's try reduce. This way it's gonna keep a bit more edges where we actually need them. Make sure to smooth this all out. Let's export. So before, it's a bit chunky. And that looks a lot smoother. Still a little bit at the tips here. Again, we can triangulate it by hand, but first let's just go to mesh and triangulate. So it's gonna take the Maya default triangulation. And then we can make sure we have it as nice as we can. Maybe this one. Now we won't be getting any like surprising triangulation in Marmoset or Unreal. So yeah, now it looks better. Now let's kind of do the same thing here. Just gonna cut out the texture. Again, this just to optimize the alpha overdraw. Oops, let's turn off edge flow. If you have edge flow turned on, it's gonna try to smooth it out. But it can be kinda messy. And here the triangulation doesn't matter as it's all like one flat surface. So we put a triangle and we change it. You see that shading, like the way the alpha is, doesn't change at all. It's So let's just keep it like this, because it looks nicer to look at in the final topology, right, than this. So let's see, 34, so if we put down like 10, 340, it's a little expensive, but I think it's okay. Now let's merge them, give them both. Let's go with green. Guides, and now just group them together. Let's call this guide 01. Send to the pivot point. Just put it to the beginning of the roots. So now we can go ahead and just duplicate this thing around. The first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna make a blend over here. So like a smaller one here. And let's see how that looks. Actually, I'm gonna do one more. Just put it here. But maybe we'll delete this one later. Yeah, I think we will delete it later. So now this thing should be blended a bit better as well. Also go ahead and export the albedo again. Yeah, and that looks pretty nice. Add a bit more curvature to this one. Just kinda checking where this should be. So we got this thing here. Yeah. This one should be a little bit more like over here, I think. So we got some space to do that thing there. Make sure that normals are facing the right way. Go ahead and merge this thing actually. Mesh. Come back. Make sure you only delete this one. Can get rid of this. Now for this one we can kinda give it less curvature. This just so we can like modify the shape a little bit, so they got some variation. Because if we don't, they're all gonna look very similar. Like for this one, maybe we can make it a little bit thinner. Let's go ahead and give this one a different color. Nah, it's okay actually. So you can see how we're starting to get like that nice fuzzy effect here. I think that's sticking out a little bit too much though. So go ahead and just make it duplicate and freeze the transforms. I think that's starting to look pretty nice. Gonna need to edit this more, but now let's like fill up the front. Let's call these guides right. We can go ahead and call this one guides middle. Let's first do a few that like kind of blend the hairline in. So we can also create a bit of variation doing that in the hairline itself. This is gonna help blend those hairs in with these clumps. That's one of the more difficult parts, like blending everything in together nicely. That's actually all rotated wrong. Make sure to follow the flow closely. Let's do one more. Make sure they actually insert into the skull. Let's do one here. Take a look at how that looks. Maybe let's duplicate this one. This one's looking a little bit strange. It's better. And one more over here. I think you can tell that that blends in pretty nicely now. Now let's make them turn this way. Let's make sure the normal's facing the right direction. When we get to this side, we're gonna flip those normals again. And I don't necessarily need to be in the texture view for this. Just go ahead and place a bunch of them down. Can also kind of start editing that shape. And I think that should do it for now. Let's get one of those and just use this kind of like a middle. Do want to make this one smaller though, so it's not sticking out too much. Kind of try to place them in between in those empty areas. We're gonna fill this up later with some like hairs to break up the repetitiveness. You can see the poly count's not too bad. Let's call this middle, L for left. So let's take this one, duplicate it. And duplicate it, let's call this right. And just scale -1 and remember to freeze the transform. You can see that I like to watch this from time to time. Like the default material I think looks pretty cool. Now I think that's starting to look pretty nice. So I'm becoming a little bit messy, which I like. This is gonna need quite some work though, the front view. This looks horrible now. Let's start by breaking up the symmetry a little bit. Let's make like a extra long one for this one. I think we can also go ahead and at the sides blend in this part with these clumps. Again, just by duplicating these things on different places of the hair, it's gonna help blend the two different hairs together. So I'm even gonna go as far as putting one here. Have them work as like transition hairs here. Just make it more straight. Maybe we can make like a little clump to those hairs over there. And I think we can also use them to break this one up a little bit. And this is actually pretty fun. I like doing this part of hair, like all these nice little details. I think there's one problem with hair in general in 3D. A lot of times when people do like hair like this, they don't really pay attention to the transition to the scalp. See this looking pretty nice. And in my opinion, like this is the one thing that's gonna make the hair believable and not if your transitions are nice and smooth. So I pulled some hairs up that I really like, but I think that are like kinda noticeable once we pay attention to the transitions, that's the one part that really breaks the hair. For me this looks really nice and realistic, but if we just look to the hair here, how the hair transitions to the skin, this would be so much nicer, this hair, if it had like a nice soft transition. We can see a really harsh line. I think the transition kills it a lot of times in hair. So I would like to have like nice thin cards covering this whole line. Same for this, I think the hair looks great. But if we compare, like here we can see a harsh line that should be covered up by soft and nice cards. I think that's a problem with a lot of times when people make hair. So you want to be careful for that. I think if you put it, it's really gonna like set your hair aside from most of the hair that's already out there. But all these hairs are amazing that I'm showing you. It's just that they could use some more work on the transitions. So we do want to make sure that in our hair we're gonna pay a lot of attention to the transitions. Because for me, like this part, it's so much more important, and this part is way more important than what we're actually putting in the main part. This is not gonna like ask too much of your attention. It's boring. And here we have the hair contrasting against the skin. And you're just gonna notice it a lot here. And also when you're making the transitions, you do want to make sure that sometimes you kind of check how it's looking with like a shaded head. Because if we go back to this one, you can see that this looks a little bit better once we have the unlit one. Once we put the shaded one, you can see that this looks absolutely horrible. So So that's something you want to make sure that you keep in mind when you're doing transition work. Also, if we take a look to this, for the baby hairs, I'm probably gonna like use the light and tips as well here. But I'm not quite sure yet. But it's not because I want the hair to be light, it's just to try to like mimic the effect of some light scattering through, which I think can look pretty nice. But we're first gonna put all the baby hair in and then decide later.